Hello. I don't know how many of you have seen the latest video from Archaix about the year 1902 and how that is at an epicenter. So equal number of years before and after you have very similar events playing out, and he shows that beyond any doubt. Culminating in the 1969 moon landings, allegedly, an event that happened an equidistant number of years, 67 years prior to 1902. So, where am I going with this? What I conject is it's not just 1902. So if we go back to the previous Phoenix year of 1764, which incidentally was the year that Mozart composed his first symphony at the age of 8. So Mozart was born in 1756, so that's 8 years before 1764. So if we go 8 years after 1764, we come to the year 1772. Straight away, because we're looking for a similar event, the birth of Ludwig van Beethoven. Now, many of you will say, but he's born in 1770, round about the 14th of December. I say round about because it would seem that his father, who I believe was called Johann Beethoven, who was a bit of a very abusive to his son and was an alcoholic, but he exploited his talent. And to sort of emulate Mozart, he actually said Beethoven was 2 years younger than he actually was, or not even 2 years, because Beethoven was baptized, I think, the 14th or 15th of December. But there is no birth record of Beethoven. It seems his father either bribed a clergyman to destroy the records, I don't know. But suffice to say, in that era, it was common practice to baptize a baby very soon after birth. So Beethoven, for quite a lot of his life, believed his birth year was 1772, which is isometrically 8 years after 1764, which reflects the birth of Mozart, and also because Beethoven's father was trying to sort of replicate this childhood genius with Mozart with his own son Ludwig van Beethoven. He's telling everybody his son is 6 when he's actually 8. So there's the first isometric marker. Now the other one I can readily think of off the top of my head, Joseph Haydn was born in 1732, so that's 32 years before 1764. So then if we look at 1796, off the top of my head, I draw a blank, but I'm pretty sure there is a composer who is either born or died in that year. But bearing in mind we have an overlap of the calendrical systems between the Gregorian calendar year starting on January the 1st and what is called the ecclesiastical year starting on March the 25th, even with that you have a slight overlap. So it's not inconceivable to put Franz Schubert as the isometric marker to the birth of Joseph Haydn. So you have two great composers, both Austrian, born 32 years either side of 1764. So there's two to start you off for anybody that wishes to carry this on. I would suggest doing a Google search and principal events of a certain year, either side of 1764, and I'm pretty certain that what you'll find is repeating patterns again. But now if we put this with what is shown with 1902, you've basically got the path of the sun. So if we take the Phoenix years as like the high point and the low point, and then you've got the lines, the isometric equidistant similar events either side of those years, you're going to get a sort of mesh effect with like a sine wave going through it, which forms a sort of like a repeating M or a repeating W. And if you consider also, it replicates the sine wave and also the path of the sun. So I just wanted to share that. And also with this 3i Atlas object that is maybe prematurely referred to as being a comet and would seeming to come from Sagittarius. Sagittarius being the archer, it would imply that this is some kind of arrow that is going for the bullseye, heading towards Taurus and heading towards Jupiter. And again, Mozart, his numbered symphonies go between 1 and 41, and number 41 has acquired the name Jupiter, which I find very interesting as well with all of this. But I invite you to take this further and then send your findings to Archaix, not just for 1902, but for 1764, and maybe even look at 1626 and see what events are equidistant around that year. So if you take 1626, look at 1625 and 1627. So if you go 10 years back to 1616, then compare with events of 1636. And I'm sure what we will get is quite an amazing picture from all of this. But I thought I'd just start the 1764 parallels, just from the little bit of information I know about great composers and years of their birth. There is a repeating pattern with composers. When one is born, another one dies, or the midpoint of a life of a great composer, another composer either lives or dies. It's almost like a pulse that you would see on a heart monitor that comes out of this if you sort of draw a linear line and put dots on these years and then look at the different events that come out. It's all very fascinating. I feel it goes a long way to sort of adding to the evidence that we are in some kind of mathematical construct. That's not to say we can't have fun within it and move about the circuits and the circuitry of this reality. We are, to some extent, electrical beings after all. And if you look at the word solder and soldier, how similar they are. And we are a bit like electrical components on a circuit board, where the pins is a slang term for the legs. So the question to ask is, what actually are you? Are you a capacitor, a transformer, a diode, a resistor? What component are you in this circuit? What component would you like yourself to be? Perhaps you wish to be a transformer. It's just, as much as anything else, it's metaphors and allegories that help make sense of what is this experience really about. And just as a final note to the end of this video, what can be a game changer for you is, well, I invite you to take up the offer of a personal tarot card reading. The feedback I've had so far has been absolutely phenomenal, and it really has made a difference in those people's lives. It's given them a whole new perspective on their situation. I was given a lovely word, thank you Stephen, refine. We look at the external world with processed foods, you have like refined sugar. But is this journey not about refining yourself? So it's all about refining. Really, with these videos, it is about refining a message to impart, and it's up to you what you make of it. You filter out what you see as something negative, and you filter in things that you see as positive. But it's all about weighing up inside oneself what is, and also consider anything you take in through the eyes or through the ears. What effect is it having on your organization inside yourself? Is it something that is uplifting and beneficial, or is it something that is dragging you down? So the filtering system is very necessary. And of course, it's all going on inside oneself, but it's whether we have learnt that dialogue of communication between the intuition and the heart and the mind, bringing all three into alignment. So with that, I will say unconditional love to you all until the next video.